Hello, welcome to the Lalantia show. Today I'm coming on to talk about Atlantis, and today it's really just like an overview of Atlantis. There's so many things I could go into regarding Atlantis, so this is just like a general overview to give you an idea of what Atlantis was like. So if you are new to my channel, my name is Lalantia. I'm a psychic realm channeler and energy healer, and I specialize in working with the Lost Lands, so Lemuria, Atlantis, and Avalon. I also work with the magical beings, or with dragons, unicorns, mermaids, fairies, all different kinds of magical guides who are here to help us on our journey. I also work with ascended masters. Sometimes I work with angels. I work with gods and goddesses. I work with lots of different energies, and on this channel, I like to teach about all kinds of different things regarding spirituality. I help you to understand the different beings like mermaids and dragons and unicorns, and how these different beings can help us. I like to talk about the Lost Lands and how we need to heal some of the trauma from those times, how to bring forward some of the information and guidance from those times, to remember those times so that we can create change here in our world as it is today. So I took a few notes about what I want to talk about so that I can try to stay on track with this. I did do a video on Lemuria already, if you want to check that out. So Atlantis began, it began in a time Lemuria still existed. So Lemuria and Atlantis had some crossover time. And as Lemuria began to sink, a lot of Lemurians decided to go, they migrated to Atlantis. Now, Atlantis is very different from Lemuria. Atlantis was a very, it was a very bustling city-like atmosphere. That's the energy that I get from it. That's what I see. I should have said this in the beginning, but just to let you guys know, this is information I experience in my journeys with myself, with my clients. This is information that I see personally. Other people may see other aspects of it. Other people may receive other bits and pieces of information. I share what I experience, what I see, and what I know from my own personal experiences. And I'm always, always, always learning more. There's always more to learn, it seems like. So Lemuria was a bustling place. Or Atlantis, sorry. Atlantis was a bustling place. I got out of the flow of what I was talking about. Atlantis was a bustling place. Atlantis was full of beings from all over. So there are lots of different looking beings from different, lots of galactic beings, we'll just say that would come to visit. We had Lemurians there. We had lots of different beings that were shifters. So there were different fairy beings. There were different animal beings that would shift, into a humanesque form and into animal form. There were lots of mare beings that came from all over. So they had different appearances. There were lots of different kinds of beings. And in this early age of Atlantis, you could look around and see so many different types of beings. And everyone, it was a very technologically advanced society, but we were incredible healers. We really, in this beginning age, we were really able to use our abilities in really powerful ways to create some really incredible things. And the technology in Atlantis was way more advanced than it is today, but it was different. It was very different from our technology today. And I don't think that we can really fully comprehend how it really worked, but it was definitely very different from the technology that we use now. Let's see. So we had a lot of temples around Atlantis. A lot of them that I see are outside of the city. Some are on the kind of outskirts of the city, but I believe that there were some temples that were more in the center of the city, but a lot of them that I see are outside of the city. And so you could go to the temples to worship, which looked different from worship today. I use the word worship because I think people know what that means, but it wasn't necessarily like that. It was our place of meditation, of connection, of understanding more of our own path, understanding more of ourselves. It was connecting with ourselves. And we also connected one of the temples that I visited in at least one of my lifetimes was a dragon temple, and I connected with the Atlantean dragons there. Excuse me. And so we had these sacred places, and in the early ages of Atlantis, we were still in that place where we weren't, like in Lemuria, we weren't necessarily such a solid form. In the early days of Atlantis, I feel like we weren't really in such a solid form, but as time went on, as the energy changed, as ego came in, ego began to kind of take over, we became more solid. We weren't so interchangeable, but there were still shifters up until the end. There were still those that could shift form. But and how it feels for me, and I'm still receiving more information around this, is that we did become more solid, where we had less control over our energy, where we became more dense, is what it was. We also, this is as Atlantis continued and people became more power hungry, they wanted to have more control, they wanted to, be in charge. And this is when corruption began, and that's when the caste system began, and when some people were declared that they were better than others, basically. So we kind of know how the caste system works, and I can do a video that's like really about that, but I don't want to get into it too terrible much. But this is when slavery began, and this was, before the fall of Atlantis, but it was after Golden Age of Atlantis. So the Golden Age of Atlantis, and remember, this is over thousands of years. So the Golden Age of Atlantis, you could have had several lifetimes. We also lived a lot longer back then. But in the Golden Age of Atlantis, we were able to really be more authentically ourselves, like we were in Lemuria. We were able to connect with so many other beings. We're having amazing experiences, learning from all kinds of different beings from all over the galaxy, from all over the universe. We were connecting with so many different beings and learning so much, and it was very, very different from Lemuria, where it was very peaceful and calm, but we weren't learning so much. And ego was introduced because we wanted to learn more. Our souls wanted to kind of experience the highs and lows, and we needed ego in order to experience the highs and the lows. And I can do another video on that as well. So people in power really created, people who brought themselves into power created a lot of rules in this caste system, and they those that they declared were not as good as others, and they kind of determined who was better than others. They started the slavery. I want to say the slavery trade. I don't know if that's quite the right way of wording it, but that was when a lot of mare beings became slaves. They were expected to, they had to make vows. I don't know how they were coerced to make these vows, but these vows would keep them from not being a slave, basically, because, a mare being, how would a mare being stay a slave, right? They can just swim away. Well, there was something that they did that kept them tied to them. And I don't know if they kidnapped their children and held them. That did happen sometimes, but they were able to coerce them into staying as slaves, and they would have to pick pearls from the sea, or there were lots of different things that happened. This is also when the experimentations began. And remember that Atlantis was a very advanced technologically advanced society, and so they had these different methods of experimentation, and they would actually, bring two different beings together to try to create one being. They were starting to create these different hybrid children. They were doing all of these different experiments that were awful, hideous things, and worse than anything that we see even today, is that we are aware of. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes, right? Let me see here. So when this started to happen in Atlantis, there were many, especially different fairies, mare beings, a lot of different shifters who fled to Avalon. So Avalon existed through this whole period of time, as far as I am aware, and Avalon was a place of safety for those who were different, who were considered different. And I don't know how the Atlanteans determined who was different, but it's a bit similar to how we are today. You know, if we were to see mare beings, the thing is mare beings don't always look so much human. They can look more fish. Well, then they would see them as less than, right? We would determine, oh, they're more animal. Well, before this time, we considered animals equal to us, and said this was suddenly when animals were no longer equal to us. This is where being different wasn't such a good thing. And who determined that? Well, that the Atlanteans that made themselves in charge, and that is when it all of this began. And this is what we are playing out today. This is the healing that we're still doing today. So I will be talking way more about this because there's so much to uncover. This was also the time when we had to pick a gender. So for thousands of years, from Lemuria into Atlantis, we were more gender fluid. We didn't have to be male or female. That wasn't a thing. And when we hit this point, when Atlantis began to go downhill, basically, it was when we had to select a gender. We had to be male or female. We had to be more solid in that form. Now, I have been kind of looking into, is this when we were told that only males and females could mate, or did that come later? And I do believe that it did begin in that time. I don't think that it stuck, like in that sense of it happened, and it was in that lifetime that many of us are healing some of this trauma, but then many left. So many went to Avalon. They didn't necessarily experience this, or other places, and they didn't experience this where they were told, you know, you can only mate, you know, with the opposite sex, right? So some people don't carry that trauma until in later lifetimes, when they were told, maybe when the religion came in, Christianity came in, where they were told that you had to mate only with the opposite sex. But originally, when we started incarnating on Earth, it wasn't a thing. We weren't male or female. We were fluid in our gender. We were gender fluid. So that came later. Now, yes, we believe anyways that we choose our gender before we are born, and that there's all kinds of different beliefs around that, and there's lots to uncover around that, and maybe that's something I need to explore. I need to channel on more, because honestly, I haven't channeled on that specifically that much. I don't know why some people would, you know, pick to be one gender, and that doesn't resonate with who they really truly are. So, you know, it doesn't all add up. There's more to it. But there is so much to uncover around this. But this did begin in Atlantis, and this is part of what we're healing right now today, as we as a society are waking up, as we are discovering that more of us have more gender fluidity, that we're not necessarily feeling like we fit into being male or female. We may fit into a little bit of both, and we don't have to be so boxed in, and we're recognizing that, we're releasing these boxes. So I really want to do a video more on a lot of these different topics, but I really wanted this one to kind of be just a general overview, and then I can go more specifically into different things. I want to keep this as short as possible to kind of give you just an idea of what Atlantis was like. I have been writing up a lot of posts. I mean, it depends on when you see this video. You know, if you see it in a year or two, then these posts aren't going to be right up at the top in my group unless I'm writing new ones. But at the time of recording this, I have been writing up a lot of stuff in my group, which is called Sorceress Circle, and it's on Facebook. It is free to join. And I've been talking a lot more about these topics in more detail. There's also a safe space. It's a safe space to come. You can ask questions. You can dive into understanding more about the different beings of these places. You can dive into understanding more about how dragons, unicorns, mermaids, fairies, these different magical beings can help us now and today. So there's a lot in that group, and I really would love to have you join if you feel called to learning more or to connecting with me in that way. I do live videos there as well, and sometimes I channel for people if I feel called. So I will post the links below. I also do sessions. I do past life healing and journeys and past life regression. I do Akashic Records reading. I do many different modalities for healing, but I can help you to connect more deeply with who you really truly are. I can help you to recognize things from past lives that need to be healed or remembered to bring forward that power. So you can check out link to my website. And of course, I would invite you to reach out to me if you feel called to work with me in some way so we can discuss the options available to you or what you may be feeling called to, or if you just want more information, there's no strings attached to have a conversation. All right, I will let you guys go. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.